Today I'm wearing my glasses because this is an intellectual video.
Big
Brains?
what? Child. Anyway, so
Listen, I know that I should have said I learned the Thai alphabet in 3 days instead of 3 months to get more views, but I'm too honest, what can I do? But I did manage to learn the Thai alphabet in 3 months, and I'm gonna give you my best advice so you can too. That being said, you could learn the whole thing in a month if you wanted to, but my lazy ass couldn't do that. So the first step is to find yourself a teacher, a video. This is the video I watched, which is a lie because it actually doesn't teach you the whole alphabet in 50 minutes. I had to sign up for the free trial on their site to watch all the videos, and if I remember correctly, it took me about 6 hours to watch all of them and take notes. About that, from the very beginning, you need to be taking notes, unless you want to be watching the videos a second time. So write down anything that seems important on a scrap piece of paper or a notebook. I would recommend using the notebook your ex-friend gifted you years ago that you still haven't used. Once the long hours of listening and note-taking are over, comes the third step, doubt. You're gonna ask yourself if those long hours of work were worth it now that you actually have to learn the alphabet. You're gonna tell yourself that learning a whole new alphabet is too hard and you're gonna give up halfway anyway, so why even try? And I wanna tell you, girl, I get you. I told myself the exact same thing, and look at me now. I know the alphabet of a language I can't even speak. So I'm gonna need you to pull your head out of your and think about all the times you will pause a TV show and attempt to read what's on screen. And you won't understand everything all the time, but sometimes you will recognize a word you know, or better, the name of your favorite actor. So don't give up, because not everyone can say they learned a whole other alphabet on top of their own. So I want you to look at this ugly notebook you have. And it's messy, you can't read anything of it. So you're gonna take a bigger notebook and copy anything that is really important on there. But you only copy what's important and helpful, and the rest goes to the trash. We're trying to go from a mess you'll never be able to learn from to actually something readable. That finished second notebook will be your Bible, and you can put the first one away. Now this is where I made a huge mistake. And it's that I did these 4 first steps in April 2019 and then just gave up. I only picked it back up in January 2020. I guess the pep talk didn't really work on me. When I started again in January, it was really hard to get back into it because my notes were incomplete and some letters were missing from them. I legit had to use Wikipedia to complete the notes that were missing. So don't do like me, learn the alphabet right away so you don't have to struggle like I did. So if you watch the videos I talked about, the teacher most probably talked about high class, mid class, low class, and life and death endings. I want you to ignore that for now. Listen, I mean no disrespect to the Thai language, but girl, this language is a headache. I also want you to ignore the tonal accents because if you learn too much at once, you will get overwhelmed and just give up. Again, we're trying to learn the Thai alphabet and not actual grammar for now. So now the learning gets to actually start. And just know that you can't give up anymore. You had many opportunities before when the pep talk failed for you too, but now just know that if you give up, it's gonna be so hard to get back on board. So now that you're truly doing this, choose 3 letters. Yes, any letters written on your notebook. You can choose the ones you know the most, you like the most, or just follow the order written in your notebook. I personally started with 5 letters I already kinda knew by heart. And yes, I didn't start with 3 letters, but do as I say and not as I do. So once you've chosen your 3 letters, you're going to take another notebook or a scrap piece of paper and write them down. Once that is done, you're going to look at their sound and try to memorize it. Once you think you know them, go back to your notebook and write the sound next to the letters. And then look to see if you're right. Because it's only 3 letters at first, you probably are. Then go to another page where you can see your first try and do that again and again. I would recommend doing it 2 or 3 times a day. But while it might seem easy at first, the letters are gonna add up and it's gonna be a lot to learn. So it's the next day and you're gonna choose 3 more letters and add them under the first 3. And you're gonna do the same exact thing as the day before. And again and again and again until there's no letter left and you've learned the whole alphabet. There's 80 letters, so if you do the 3 letters a day thing, you will be able to learn the whole alphabet in 26 days. That being said, never stop studying what you've learned or it will escape your mind like it's kind of doing now. Especially the last letters you've learned, you haven't studied for as long as the first, and so they will escape your mind very easily. I would recommend downloading an app like Quizlet where you can put all your info and just test yourself on it. I personally test myself a few times a week, and it helps a lot with keeping things fresh in your mind. Now I'm gonna try and prepare you for what awaits you, but I'm gonna be honest, some stuff is hard as fuck. So the first thing is more of a complaint than a legitimate hard thing, but it's just so many letters look alike. This is two letters that make the P sound. Oh, what is that? Let me watch that again. My question is why? Why?
Why? Why? Why? Why? Why?
There are legit 14 T's and 6 K's, and I'm still not completely sure of why that is. I do know though that there's two types of K sounds. There's the K sound in, for example, the character cow from Dark Blue Kiss, and then there's the K sound from the character Kai from Theory of Love. My baby! But still, 6 K's for two sounds seems a little much. But please, yeah, if there's anyone Thai watching this, please tell me why. Why? Just why so many letters with the same sound? There's also the fact that the letter placement is just not the same as in French and English. In French and English, a letter just always follows another, whereas in Thai, the letter could be after, on top, or before another letter, which is really like mind-boggling to me. That being said, I did get used to it pretty quickly, so like don't freak out too much and it will be fine. Oh, and also the letters often come in two symbols, whether they're long or short, and that was also a little like weird to me. And that's not really confusing when you learn the alphabet, but when you try to write with it, it can be a little more confusing. And also what can be a little unsettling is that some Thai letters resemble Roman letters but don't have the same sound. For example, this is the letter for T, but it looks like an N. Like, it clearly looks like an N. And the last difficulty is by far the worst. Some vowels come in a cluster of letters, and those clusters are hell. Here's why. So often these clusters surround a letter, and so that makes them much harder to read. Let's take, for example, the French word oui. So it's composed of 3 letters, and we learn in school that O plus U makes OO. And so we know that when we see O plus U, it makes OO, and then we add the E at the end, oui. But with Thai letters, it just doesn't work like that. Because for one, they do go all around the letter, but also because they're composed of random ass letters. For example, you want to write the vowel OO. How would you write that? You would take the sound for OO and the sound for ah. It's kind of simple for now. And so you would think this is what makes this sound ooh. No, 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 no. No, 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 my kid. It doesn't work that way. This is the sound for ooh. And all the clusters are like that. They don't make no sense, but you gotta learn them anyway. And lastly, you also have 2 versions of these clusters. One for the long sound and one for the short sound. So let me present you with 2 clusters. Which one do you think is the long one and which one do you think is the short one? Wrong! It's the opposite. And it just doesn't make sense because if the sound is shorter, it should have less letters, not more. It's just so weird because in French and English, a shorter word will have just less letters. It's just so confusing to me. For me, that's like the #1 thing where I'm like, girl, what the fuck is that? But then they break their own rule, and with these 2 letters, when it's longer, it's actually the long sound. Anyways, this was all for this video of me basically complaining for whatever minutes straight, but I hope it helped you in some way. Learning the Thai alphabet is not very rewarding because you still need to know some Thai vocabulary to understand what's written. And there's also the tonal accents, the life and death ending, and the headache is already forming itself. But it was still a lot of fun and I'm very proud of myself for learning it all on my own. So yeah, I would encourage you to do it so you can have fun trying to read your favorite character's name when they're on screen. Have a good day and I'll see you next time.
ฝันดีครับ